Hey, this is Sensibility Speaks. Welcome to my channel. Thanks for stopping by, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. So Danny Canada of Boss Up interviews Kimmi Scott, and Kimmi gives her opinion of Martell's state of mind as it relates to his former marriage and current state, what he thinks now. And also she tells about who she enjoyed filming with. Surprise, surprise. That will be interesting. You guys have to take a listen to hear what the answer to that is. And also, I'm going to give my commentary throughout, but tell me, what do you think of Miss Canada when she speaks of Martel and Melody on Kimmi's interview or during Kimmi's interview? Let's take a listen.
Right. And that's fair. And, speaking of co-parenting, something that even played out on episode 1 was we saw there was this, I guess you could call it a co-parenting conversation on one side. So Martel had asked Melody to pray, he said, for their co-parenting situation. According to Mel, she said the actual prayer was about him praying that they could reconcile and get back together. What do you think about these fan theories? And it's not even a fan theory, it's a Carlos King theory at this point, because he said at the reunion that Martel honestly just really wants his family back. He's not so much worried about the co-parenting, he's more so worried about the coupling.
All right, Miss Mamas, you a little messy, aren't you, Miss Kennedy? Did you see the facial expression she was making as she was inquiring about Martel? Why is she asking Kimmi about Martel and Melody? And this is Kimmi's interview, but I guess it is gossip. But check out Kimmi's response, and y'all tell me what y'all think of both. Is Miss Kennedy messy? And what do you think about what Kimmi has to say?
Well, I obviously can't speak for either of them. However, from what I know in our friendship, to say the least, when they first separated, I honestly thought that they would work it out. If I was a betting woman, I would have lost my money because I would have thought that they had worked it out. But at this juncture, I do get that they've had some obstacles that, you just aren't going to be able to come back from for most people. I think Martel loves the aspect of family. From what I know of him as a person, that's just what I believe. He has said, matter of fact, several times. And he likes that environment. I mean, obviously, he doesn't like the fussing and fighting and not getting along or not getting what he wants out of a relationship. And I'm sure she doesn't like not getting what she needs out of a relationship. But I think he does miss the situation. I think he misses having a family. And quite frankly, I think he's verbalized that several times, to be perfectly honest.
So that was a semi-diplomatic answer, Kimmi. In all fairness, you were asked a question, but Martel misses all aspects of family so much that he stuck his peen in other women. So much so that he produced another child outside of his marital union. That's how much he misses family. Child. And also not getting his needs met. Martel ain't nothing but a leaky bucket. Can't nothing fulfill his needs. He can't even fulfill his own damn needs. Hopefully the therapist can get through to him.
Yeah. I think if he came out and flat out said, Mel, I want my family.
I don't
think anyone would be like,
I don't think anyone would be surprised either.
Yeah. Fair. So speaking of the old days, when the show first started, we met the comeback group. This was something that you guys had back in the day, pre-filming. What would it take to get that group back together? And do you miss the old school comeback group days of yesterday?
Let me take Jesus, first of all. Take an act of God himself. And I say that because we had so many internal opinions. It makes, even as friends, when we first stopped doing the comeback group, we didn't leave angry. We didn't leave just hating each other. We just came to a point where it was 6 people who wanted to be the leader, and everybody isn't built to be a leader. Some people literally were built to be followers. And so I think that, coupled with the fact that on top of the fact that we all knew we had troubles bringing it together, after that, then we had troubles within the core, on top of the fact that the comeback group didn't actually work. And I think once we started having troubles in the core group, that's what made it more difficult for everybody to remember the vision, and remember what we were in it for in the first place and come back to that. Because, Maurice and I were actually the first people out of the comeback group. So when Melody called and asked us to come back in, it was the vision of what we knew we had talked about in the first place that made us like, all right, we'll give it one more shot. And I don't know if everybody has that in them. I don't know if everybody got that one more shot left. I think we done one more shot everybody out at this point.
Some people might be fed up. They're like, okay,
right.
It's not working enough. It's done. Yeah. Okay, now speaking of Maurice, how is Maurice? How is he doing? I'm sure he is ecstatic for the latest update in your health journey.
Maurice is doing great. I couldn't have asked for a better partner in this journey. And in many conversations, I tell people my entire life was set up by Jesus. Like me meeting Maurice when I did, things happening during the time frame that they did, all of it for me was the plan. It was obviously, and I didn't know it at the time, but it just simply was. I even say the TV show was part of that plan, because the character that I am normally, for me to get such a life-changing diagnosis, I usually go pull away and I get it figured out in quiet by myself. But with my husband encouraging me, in all honesty, to go ahead and bring it to the show and continue forward, it's helped so many people that have literally called me and told me about, they've been putting off a mammogram. They finally went and got it because of the show. And that means the world to me. Like the world, all of the things we've gone through since June, we get a lot of good news, and I'm grateful. I'm grateful to be where I am, and I'm blessed to have the outcomes that I've had so far. But more than anything, helping the few people that have told me for a fact that show helped them means so much more. So much more.
Absolutely. And that's beautiful. And I love that we get to see the Black love between you guys on this show, because yes, things happen. Yes, maybe you guys will clash, but we always love to see how strong your love story is. And I think that's very special. I think for a lot of people, there's always been this kind of thing about a reality TV curse, and we don't see any hint of that playing out with you guys at all. It's never like, oh, Kimmi and Maurice are going to break up. So my question, I guess, is how do you guys keep your relationship so strong and so sound? Because other people on reality TV, you see it happen all the time.
I think a lot of it was because we were strong before the show. And we dated a long time. Like, we didn't just know each other 4 or 5 months and get married and have to grow to know each other. So every day you do find out more about your partner, but we dated a long time. We had a lot of conversations. And so it's funny to me, even when some of the fans, y'all should have talked about it. I'm like, you think we did? Like, do you really think we did? We talked about a lot of stuff before we got married. And there were things in my disposition and his that would cause us to bump heads often. And so we had a lot of time to work on some of the things that might cause another couple stress. How you communicate with each other, how you handle situations of greater magnitude. If you can't handle the little stuff, you're not going to be able to handle the big stuff. And so far, I think think we do a pretty good job. There's sometimes I may snap and people are like, ooh, how she talk to him, or vice versa, because we're human. But in the time frame that we dated, we really tried to learn each other and how we can communicate and make our relationship the best thing. And I believe Jesus sent him for me. You know, a lot of people in one of my interviews asked me, you know, we've seen Marie step up to the plate. And I said, y'all tickle me. Y'all act like y'all don't know who I married. He ain't step up to nothing. He been at the plate. He been at the plate. You know what I'm saying? And so it tickles me when people say, oh, we see him stepping up. And I knew who I married. And I had no doubt that he was gonna carry me. You know how you see that that poem about Jesus carrying the person through the footsteps. And when they looked down, they only saw one. I knew he was gonna pick me up. It was no doubt. No doubt. Y'all might have doubted. I never did. I never did.
Okay. So I would imagine that you guys had a good time filming the season because you guys had some things, some updates to share. But besides filming with your husband, who else did you really enjoy filming with this season of Love and
Marriage? I didn't get an extraordinary amount of time because when they came back, I was still in chemo, and then I had to do surgery. So I kind of had a little downtime. But I'm going to tell you, like, in all honesty, I love that Tisha and I got to get to a better place where we get to get back on one accord and have multiple scenes where we're able to sit down and have conversations that are meaningful to us. So I love that. That I love 100%. I also love, actually, I like filming with Tiffany. Tiffany seems to have come into herself to me, and I think she's more relaxed, maybe more comfortable with the camera, or whatever the case was. I felt like this year for me, it was more fun. It was more fun just kind of watching her do her thing this season. It's not anybody that I don't necessarily enjoy filming with, but those two to me kind of stand out. Like those two to me kind of stand out.
Right. And I think we're all looking forward to seeing more of Tisha this season because I feel like last season was a little rough for my girls. Even I went back and I watched the reunion, and there was, you know, the stuff that happened with her and Kiki. And how has she been? We haven't had a chance to talk to her yet, but I would imagine after such a tough season, she was a little tired of what was going on. How
doing great. Like, I think you get to a point in the show of it all where you got to have a little bit of don't give a fuck.
Well, am I not surprised that Kimmi didn't mention Melody as one of her favorite people to film with? And even though they have a semblance of a friendship, if that's what you want to call it, I still say Carlos King put the smack down on everybody and just making sure that everyone is copacetic and not isolating Melody. But for the boss up lady, Miss Kennedy, Miss Mamas, to say, oh, Tisha had a rough season. My ass, Melody had a rough season. The way they tried to oust the girl off of her own show, okay? Again, by isolating her and throwing the fact in her face that she didn't necessarily have. And Tisha taunting her, and even Marceau taunting Melody with the fact that she didn't really have any allies on the show, including you, Kimmi, at that time, because Maurice was all up in your ear. Oh, so you're Team Mel? So yeah, I'm not necessarily surprised that Kimmi said that Melody was not her favorite person to film with. And a boss up lady, I don't know, you're a little shady or whatever. So you must be a Tisha fan, you know, to each his own. Everyone is entitled to like who they like. But I see you, Miss Boss up lady. We see you, honey. Y'all drop in the comments and y'all tell me what y'all think.
Like, you really do, because you can't constantly make everybody happy. You literally can't, be it your spouse or production or the fans or whoever it is. At one point or another, you are who you are. And if you're comfortable in your skin, you just feel better at the end of the day, no matter what the outcome is. And Tisha in her happy space, like, she happy to be. She is. She want to get in that Scott Manor, but other than that, she's doing her thing.
Good. And I know you have to go, but before you leave, tell us about what else we can expect on this season of Love and Marriage Huntsville. Are we going to see this comeback group? Is Jesus about to fly in and bring this comeback group back together?
Jesus is calling on the saints and the angels. He's going to call on the saints and the angels to sit down at the table with us and see what we can come up with. I know there's a lot of people who don't hold out hope, but there were so many things that we talked about wanting to do that were so meaningful. I just feel poorly that we couldn't come to a meeting of the minds. So we're going to say a little prayer and we're going to see how this all works out. And to be honest, this is what's funny. I can't always tell you what to expect. I know what I filmed. I watch this same night. When y'all turn on the TV, I turn on the TV. And it's funny because there's sometimes we're like, we filmed the whole scene. No, that didn't even make the cut. There's a lot of stuff that literally just doesn't make it. So hopefully you'll see a lot of our businesses growing because we did a lot of talking and filming about our businesses growing and maturing. The title company that we're opening down here with Huss Law Firm out of Atlanta, and the real estate, me getting back into work, me finishing up the rest of my treatment so that I can kind of, get back to being my best self and keeping my family and feeding my family. Some properties that we purchased that we're trying to renovate and get back up to par. So we did a lot of that. It just remains to be seen what y'all get to see.
Right. Well, we are looking forward to seeing more, and we are so happy about all of your updates, Kimmi. And thank you so much for chatting with us and for sharing your story, especially on Love and Marriage.
And thank you for having me.